Talk to you later.
So we have plenty of seats. Good to see Linda in the house this evening. Linda, how are you?
Great.
Wonderful. We got plenty of chairs for everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thursday, November 16th, 2023 meeting of the Collin County Republican Men's Club, 54 years strong. Please give yourself a round of applause. First thing we want to do, I would like to recognize, of course, our very excellent Vice President of Membership, Charles Sarbello. Charles, would you like to tell us about some of those new folks that we have attending this evening?
We got a lot of guests tonight. If you're a guest, raise your hand for me, please. We want to welcome you.
Wow.
I'll do my best to shoot out an email with membership information, but thanks again for coming. Really appreciate y'all being here.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we all know this is a Republican organization, and we're located in Texas, in Collin County. So what does that mean?
Praise God.
We praise God, absolutely, and we start every meeting off with the prayer. So please welcome Eric Noack. Please come up and lead us in the invocation. It would be wonderful.
Thanks, John. You'll join me, please, in prayer. Lord, thank you for bringing us here to meet in camaraderie, even though we know that outside of our meeting, we live in a very broken world. We've seen that recently. Please help us understand as we approach the season of holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas, that you are there always supporting us and always listening to our prayers and empowering us to make a better world for you. Through Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing, because we're going to have next up one of our most excellent precinct chairs from Precinct 246. Stephen Gillum, would you please lead us in the pledge to the United States flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And also we'll have, keep standing, because we have another, one of our treasurer actually, Mr. Tim McCord will lead us in the Texas flag salute.
Okay. Please face the flag of the greatest state in the country. Amen.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Tim. You may be seated. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a few special announcements that we'd like to go through during the President's remarks and announcements. First of all, we want to recognize that Robbie Jane is back. He has recently been, Robbie, please stand up. Will you let everybody know where you've been for almost 2.5 weeks?
Well, I went to a lot of places, but most eventful time was October 7th. I was at Whaley Walls enjoying all the humanity coming in, all that, and luckily I got out in time.
So Robbie was in Israel
On October 7th.
on October 7th when Israel was attacked.
And then we went to Dead Sea, the lowest point on the earth between Israel and Jordan. We took a big bath.
Well, Robbie, we're glad you're back, okay, and glad you're safe, absolutely. So that's very, very important. One of the things that you guys all know that the Republican Men's Club, we actually have, as you know, we're an official organization. We have bylaws, we have rules we stand by, we have a board of trustees, and one of the things that we're required to do is just to let you guys know that last month, as required by our bylaws, the board of the Republican Men's Club met, and we met with absolutely no drama, so we like that. We completed our business, and we heard from the treasurer's report. We reviewed the list of incoming officers from the nominations committee. We authorize that once we have a new president in office, that the president will have signing privileges on our checks. We authorize the forwarding of our annual tax information to our CPA, Jonathan Cox, so that we can properly file our tax return. We also concluded the meeting by telling each other some wonderful, very true fishing stories, and I want you to know that every one of those members that attended caught 10-pound bass fish in the last month or two. So, you know, by the way, nobody got pictures of them, but that's what they claim. So anyway, I did want to report to you because that's kind of required as an organization. And Richard, thank you for helping to put that together for our board of directors and for officers and trustees. So folks, this happens to be a very important meeting for the Republican Men's Club because next month, as you know, is actually our big annual Christmas party. And by the way, the Men's Club Christmas party is the social event Christmas party of all Collin County. So you'll want to be sure and attend that, okay? I have been told on very good authority that the big guy is going to be at our Christmas party. Now, I hate to tell you, it's not Biden, no, okay? But who is the real big guy? Well, that's pretty close now, Fred. Trump is close, but it's not Trump either. Who could it be? Santa Claus, that's right. Now, you know the Men's Club, we got a lot of polls. So all the way from the North Pole, we're going to be having Santa Claus attend, and we meet the third Thursday, as you know, every month, except for the month of June or July, depending on when the state convention is. But the third Thursday is December 21st. And this year, we're going to be painting the town red right here in this very building, right here at this location for the annual Christmas party. And I want to make sure that you bring yourself and your spouse and a couple of guests. So remember that. By the way, also important to know that this year, and while we're here right in this room, this is where all the new candidates file. And I say new candidates because, as you probably know, we are seeing new people file for office like never before in the Republican Party primaries. So if you're a candidate and you haven't filed, well, you have until December 11th to file, and you're going to be filing right here in this very room. We've had many, many people already filed, some great candidates, and so later in this meeting, you're going to have the opportunity to hear from candidates because we have a lot of elected officials and candidates here tonight. So I want you to know that. Something else you need to know. Where is Kellyanne Johnson? Kelly, you need to raise your hand because once again, Kelly's here. So what does that mean? Brownies. Brownies, that's right. So I'm telling you, Randy, that's why you got elected.
Oh, I know.
We're going to save those until the next election cycle.
That's right. And so, Kellyanne, thank you once again for bringing brownies. And you guys, how many of you all enjoyed some wonderful Rudy's barbecue? Yeah. Now, you know that we have somebody very special to thank for that. Where's JJ? JJ? JJ Miller is the guy responsible for that Rudy's barbecue. On behalf of everyone in this room, thank you very much, JJ. That's awesome. You know, those are the important things, right? You know, we got to have a little barbecue. We all talk. We sit around the table. You know, this is what it's all about, getting to know each other. And so I've told you about the Christmas party. I've told you about the filings session. By the way, I want to ask at this time, part of the President's remarks and announcements is that, you know, this is the meeting that we actually elect our incoming officers and trustees. So at this time, I would like to ask the chairman of the nominations committee for the Republican Men's Club to come forward. Richard, if you would, please present for our consideration.
And also the installation of officers is there when we meet with Santa.
That's right, next month.
Okay. Now, we have submitted the following, and then we're gonna open it for nominations. If any new people, Paul, if you wanna run vice president, let me know, okay? We'll add you to the list. All right, the president for the coming year, Eric Norick. Eric,
Eric, will you come on up? And,
come on up. JJ Miller, come on, JJ.
JJ here to the left. Yes.
That's all. Okay. And then Vice President of Programming, this man's gonna shoulder a great job. He's got big shoes to fill, but come on up, Mark, okay? Secretary is Wendell Brock, and he's on his way, and he's somewhere on North Central. Our treasurer for the decade and a half, the pastor, and the Mr. Reliable, all right, Tim McCard. Come on, Tim. Young man full of enthusiasm for membership, and that's Charles Sabala. Charles. Assistant Vice President of Membership, Masood Safi. Did I say it correctly? Yes. Safi, all right. Come on up, Sergeant of Arms, Steve Callis, and he's not here tonight. I haven't heard from him. Okay. Director, Vice President, Director of Technology and Computer Science, Delar Height.
All right, Delar.
Now, Assistant to Delar, Bobby Tillman. Bobby, come on up. Now, this is our slate, and I guess it's sort of screwed up, but let's do one thing. That is there any nominations from the floor for any seat? That's sort of fine. So you should have corrected me on this and said, "Hey, Richard," okay? But that's all right here. All right. Being none, all right, I make a nomination that we elect a slate of officers for the coming year. So I have a second.
Second.
Okay, let's give them a round of applause. I've got one more group we always leave for last, but we have trustees that sort of chaperone these guys and keep Mark and everybody in line for the coming year. The trustees for the coming year is Mark Rutledge. Mark, come on up. Okay, come on here. Randy, come on up here for you for a month. Get over here. Trustees over here.
All right.
Okay.
Trusted trustees.
John Myers, past president. John, come on up. Now, John will be trustee for 3 years. Where's our treasurer? Tim, come on. Come on over here. And then myself. So let's have a motion to accept this slate for trustees for the next year. Okay? Now make a motion? You can say yes. Dwayne, make one.
Yes.
All right, second?
Second.
All right, so done. Thank you, gentlemen. All have a seat. You bet.
So folks, you just saw the men's club slate of officers, and the next meeting, what day does that take place?
21st.
Thursday, December 21st. Where's that meeting going to be? Right here. And it's mainly a big social time, but the little bit of business that we will have is we will have the swearing in of all these officers next month on the Thursday, December 21st. So, Richard, thank you for handling that.
Make one comment.
Sure.
If I may, sir. We're the oldest organization. The women's was the oldest, okay, and we were the second. And Dick just said the men can have their own organization, so that's the reason we're here. But the most important thing, there's so many new organizations in the county, but are they legal? We've been legal for every year. We have our charter, we file our taxes, we have the legal supervision, and so take aim in the celebration, actually, for 54 years this year of helping the growth of the Collin County Republican Party. And I can say this, Dixie would be proud of us, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And by the way, the very last thing I want to point out to you guys is that we actually have one of the House District Chairs from the Collin County Republican Party in the room this evening. I'd like to recognize Linda Block. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? At this time, I would like to invite our Vice President of Programs, Mr. Mark Rutledge, to introduce to you a very special guest who will be speaking this evening. Mark.
Thank you, John. Well, in honor of Veterans Day, I think it's important to me to have a veteran come and speak about military veteran affairs at our November meeting. I'm pleased to present our speaker tonight, James P. Hogan, retired Colonel, U.S. Army, entrepreneur and veterans advocate. JP was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army in 1970. During the subsequent 29-plus years of active federal service, he led armor and cavalry units that included command and staff positions in Europe, Asia, Pacific, Central and South America, the Middle East, and Africa. They didn't get you to Antarctica, did they?
That's the top of my bucket list. I don't intend to stay long, but I do want to touch it.
There you go. Now an entrepreneur, JP is the co-founder and visionary for HowToLead.us LLC, a veteran-owned small business serving U.S. Army SROTC programs and commercial business leader development needs. JP is the former president of the North Texas Audie Murphy chapter of the AUSA and now serves as the executive vice president of the 4th region, that's Architects plus New Mexico, of the AUSA. He also serves as the vice chairman of the Texas Committee of the Employer Support to Guard and Reserve program and is an active leader in several veteran-focused initiatives across North Texas. JP and his wife, Arnita, have lived in Frisco since 2001. Please help me welcome Colonel James P. Hogan, U.S. Army, retired.
Thanks, Mark. And I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you about something that's really important to me. Buried in all that bio stuff is the reality that what I am is a veteran advocate and a veteran, what's the right word for it? The polite word. I'm involved in a lot of things that are veteran related in this community of ours and across the whole U.S. The Association of the U.S. Army is my home base for that, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But I'd like to say why I am so decisively engaged as an advocate for veterans, for our military. We live in a nation of 340 million people. And of that 340 million, 2.2 million of them are in uniform today. 38% of them are in our reserve force structure, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But that number, that 2.2 million people, represents 0.006% of our population. That's who picks up arms in support of our republic. Additionally, only 19 more million have ever served. So about 6% of our entire population has ever donned a uniform. And interestingly enough, everybody talks about the cost of people and retirement. There's only 2.2 million of us who are actually fully vested in retirement as a soldier, sailor, Air Force, or Marine. So the message there is we are few. And quite frankly, we're darn near a family business. Many people that I know don't know a soldier firsthand or a sailor or an airman. They know of them, but they're so few that people don't really have personal relationships with them. That's an important distinction for me, because my charter in life, when I'm wearing the hat of the Association of the United States Army, is to educate, inform, and connect America to her Army. And it is our Army. Now, I'm very focused on the Army in that world, and the brown Stetson is a brand for me, and a Stetson is a cavalry headgear. And in the 1800s, west of the Mississippi River, cavalrymen wore brown Stetsons. I am one of them. I wasn't around in 1889, but I'm a cavalryman living west of the Mississippi River, so I choose to wear a brown Stetson. The Stetson's still in the inventory. The 3rd Cavalry Regiment out at Fort Irwin, California, which represents our opposing force in our war fighting games. They wear brown Stetsons as well. And I actually served the 3rd Herd, as we called it, at Fort Lewis, Washington in 1970, when I was a brand new second lieutenant. And my first mission in the United States Army was to search the Olympic Peninsula for a guy by the name of D.B. Cooper. So I'm a couple of days old. And I didn't find money. But in that role, as the Association of the U.S. Army here in North Texas, the Audie Murphy chapter that Mark talked to, we got that renamed because Audie Murphy was born here in North Texas, up in Farmersville. And he's Second World War top recipient of any medal that the U.S. government handed out. I know the family, and when I approached the family, the advocates for the family were in on us like white on rice. They loved the idea that we were named after our brethren here from North Texas. But that chapter is this year the #1 chapter in the world. Now, there's 1 million people that belong to the Association of the United States Army. And there's 120 chapters focused locally in various communities around the world. Wherever there are soldiers stationed, there's an Association of the United States Army chapter there. Now, the association is a 501c3 in no way, shape, or form connected to the leadership of the Army. We operate independently, and we do two things. In D.C., we do in fact advocate on the Hill for a PAC in that sense. But in North Texas, in the Audie Murphy chapter, and the other 121 chapters, each of us has defined a way that we would like to use to be the informer, the advocate, and the connector of our Army to our citizenry. And in this chapter, we've chosen 3 things that we do. A dozen years ago, I and another guy, excuse me, we started a golf tournament to raise money in support of Wounded Warrior programs here in North Texas. We don't give money to the Wounded Warrior Project. We find useful, effective organizations here in North Texas that you can touch. So if you want to donate money to us, I can put you in charge and touch with where that money's going. In our next event in October of next year will carry us over the $1 million contribution mark. We also work in support of Army families by raising money for Army scholarship foundations. And this year we gave out $400,000 scholarships to 400 family members of soldiers worldwide. Now, the thing that drives my boat, if you will, is leader development. And Mark talked a little bit about a company that I've got and a foundation that provides for support to our Army as we help develop young, emerging lieutenants in our Army. So we started in 2011 at the University of North Texas. And we went to the ROTC guy out there and said, hey, listen, let us help you do the things you need to do as the professor of military science to prepare these young men and women to be the next generation of lieutenants. We named the program Passing the Torch for obvious reasons. And 7 of us formed a group that started at North Texas, started on campus doing what we called pizza and a movie, and that was to get college kids to show up. The pizza was that was the lure. And they came, and we started using movies to talk about leadership lessons that can be drawn from that, trying to get inside their heads about what leadership really is. It's not a laundry list of things you do to be effective, that's all important, but leadership is inside your own head, and you as an individual have got to define what that is. So we worked on that with them. And we were being reasonably successful. Baylor, TCU, UT Arlington, University of Texas joined in. And then we said, if we were really serious about this, we'll start to go to places where we could study what leaders did in those places. So we went down to Houston, to San Jacinto, and we talked about what Houston did. And we stood where Houston stood. And we talked about his techniques and his style as a leader, and what worked and what didn't work, and what these young developing leaders ought to put in their kit bag. And that was pretty successful. Now I got to about 9 or 10 universities that were following us. And we said, well, let's up the ante. Let's go to Vicksburg and spend some time on the military park out there talking about Grant and Pemberton and contrasting the leaders there. And then John Antal, who many of you probably know, he's my running mate for this, he and I decided if we were really serious, and this was like about this time of the year in 2014, so if we're really serious, we'll take college kids with us to Normandy in March. So we had no money, we had no plan, and we had no target market. And so the best thing we figured we could do was just announce we were going to do it. And sure enough, money showed up, support showed up, and 4 schools showed up with cadets. And we went to Normandy and spent their spring break wandering the battlefields and beaches of Normandy, talking about specific people and the things that they did. Now, at the end of the day, our model is we use history as the lens to study leadership, and we do it on the stage of the world. History is not that's not the aiming point, that's the anchor, because people remember what they experienced. And it's quite frank, I still, as a high school wide receiver, short and fast and I could catch anything, but there was one route I could not run. And my coach sat me down and he went over that route with me step by step 10 times. He said, "You got that, JP?" And I said, "I got it, Coach." And he took his knuckle and he drove it through the top of my thigh to the back of my leg, and I could run that route today. He anchored that lesson, and that's what we use history for, is to lock down what these young men and women had just experienced and thought their way through and considered what was going on. And I have still, to this day, young men and women who did this with me 10 years ago, and 6 years ago, and 4 years ago, who will write me an email and say, "Thank you, Colonel Hogan. I just came back from the Afghan-Pakistan border, and I remember talking to you about what Grant did at the Stockade Dam in Vicksburg." He said it was a different set of circumstances, but the backdrop was precisely the same, and it helped me think my way through the decision that I made. So we know this works. And now we've spread out to deal with this with industry. So I've got several Fortune 1000-like companies that use me to help develop their emerging leaders. Now, I'm interested in talking to the raw material to get them thinking about the personal experience of being a leader. I use history with them, and they're following me up to places. So I've been to Incheon in Korea, talking about what MacArthur did and the leadership things that he undertook, the way he managed to orchestrate the invasion of Incheon, and how it all fell apart on him, and what happened through the end of that war. So driving history home as not the history being the lesson, but the lessons of history being the anchor to which apply to today's life. And let me give you a couple of examples of that to kind of close the loop on why I think this is important in my own life. During the D-Day invasion, a little town called Grenier, which is right behind the town of Carenton, which is between Omaha Beach and Utah Beach. Carenton was a road network, and that road network was incredibly important to the Allies to secure it, but there was no way to get to it directly, so we had elected to go across Utah Beach and Omaha Beach and then collapse onto the top of it. And then the airborne divisions were dropped in before the invasion to secure routes and prevent the Germans from getting in. When the airplanes started in, anti-aircraft, low unforecasted clouds disrupted the heck out of the formations. So 101st and 82nd got spread all over the Cotentin Peninsula. And 186 of them from the 3rd Battalion of the 507th landed 20 miles away from where they were supposed to be in this little town called Grenier. Landed in a bunch of swamps, courtesy of the Germans who closed all the dikes and flooded the Doubs River, so Cotentin Peninsula became almost a lake, and we lost a lot of guys there. But these guys organized themselves, and the battalion executive officer, the number 2 guy, Lieutenant Johnson, a kid from Tennessee, said, "Okay, I know where we're at. This town called Carenton's important, it's uncovered. We're staying and we're gonna make sure the Germans don't get to Carenton." The number 2 guy, a major named McBramick, said, "No, boss, we gotta go to our battalion commander. He's 20 miles away and he needs our help." And the major said, "He'll be fine. I gotta do this. I have looked at this fight 100,000 times as I was preparing for this, and this is a critical note. So he was displaying what we call disciplined initiative. He took it upon himself when he saw an opportunity to take an action that had significant strategic implications. So he held on to it. In the little town of Grenier, they helped them recover equipment out of these bogs, fed them, gave them some intelligence on where the Germans were coming from. And sure enough, the 17th Panzer Grenadier Division showed up with a mission to take Carentan before the Americans got there. So here's a division worth of SS troops coming down on Carentan, and they got to go through this little town called Grenier, and these 186 guys took them on and stopped them. And the German, whose mission was to take Carentan, got mad that this little group of guys and Frenchmen were screwing up his plan, and he hung around for 3 days. And ultimately wiped these guys out, killed all the survivors, burned the town down. Johnson was killed. Half of his troops survived, and Brandt did, in fact, evac them back to the headquarters of the Russian battalion. But because this guy, Werner Ostendorf, stopped and got distracted from what his real mission was, he lost Carentan. If you watch the movie or the series Band of Brothers, in the Carentan episode, which is number 2 or number 3, you'll see the Echo Company getting overrun by turretless tanks, and that was the 17th Panzer Grenadiers, and they arrived behind the arrival of the 2nd Armored Division, and they lost. And they lost because they should have been there 3 days ahead of time if their commander had focused on what he was supposed to be doing and not get distracted by some interesting thing that happened. So those are 2 huge lessons to put in the kit bag of a young leader. And then after retiring, I was the consigliere of a forward standing plan. That's the best way to explain the mission that I had. But I was in there to help the committee that was operating the plant, the operating committee, cut costs and get better at what they were doing. And they used to have what they call their operating committee meeting at the start of shift number 2, where the senior leadership of the plant would define what's the most important thing we got going on down here. And this is what we need to do, leaders. So I called it a bluff. I went to the spot in the plant where the most important thing was going to happen in that plant that day. And it was changing of the die for a Mustang left fender to a right fender. Most important thing to keep the Mustang plant operating next door. And there were 3 people there at the most important event. Me, who had no role, and 2 skilled tradesmen who were there to make sure the die was set. Nobody else, and not a leader. So I had a pocket radio, and I called the plant manager and said, hey, Jesus, the most important thing happening in your plant today is being attended by me and 2 young skilled tradesmen. I said, you really think this is the most important thing you guys are doing today? And naturally, within minutes, every leader in the plant was there on line 17. But the message that Johnson understood and what Ostendorf didn't understand, the leadership of that plant didn't understand. But if it's important, that's where the leadership needs to go. That's just a sample of the things that we do with these young men and women. And now, today I've got 28 universities, and I'm headed to the Battle of New Orleans in February with Ole Miss. And I've just now become appointed as one of the Association of the United States Army's Leadership Fellows. 28 retired colonels and generals that AUSA looses on the world to talk about leader development through the lens of experienced military guys. I could tell you 100 more stories about things that have happened in history that every leader you know should have some visibility of it. You know, history doesn't repeat itself. It does rhyme. And I'm, interestingly enough, reading a book called The Fourth Turning that suggests that his history has got a cycle of 4 seasons. And it matches the saying we all know that tough times make tough people, and tough people create great times, and great times create complacent people, and complacent people lead to soft people, and soft people give rise to bad things and bad people. Well, that's a historical event. These guys say it's 80 to 100 years long. And our greatest generation was the last time we really had the tough people taking on tough times. And I was born in, and this is about almost 80 years later, and their premise is that winter's coming in this nation. And we ought to be really careful. And our Republican Party holds a great card in making sure that we start growing the hard people that have to deal with the tough times that are on our doorstep here. So that's my story, ladies and gentlemen. If anybody's interested in participating as a leader development agent, every one of you brings stuff to that discussion. And I do, Keith Self has been with me, Pat Fallon's done some stuff with me. Leaders and business owners around the VFW area have done stuff with us, because the current leaders of tomorrow, they need the insights you have in whatever line of work or life you're in. You know some stuff, and I want to help you tap it for these young men and women. There's no such thing as military leadership. Leadership is leadership. It doesn't matter what you're doing in your family, or taking a hill, or attacking Incheon. Leaders make a difference, and building them is incumbent upon all of us. And Anton and I just love doing it. So,
Can we take the questions?
I'll happy to entertain any questions you might have.
Have you written any of these stories down?
Yeah, actually, John published, he and I worked with, called The Leadership Lessons of the American Revolution, The Leadership Lessons of D-Day. You can get them both on Amazon, and both of them had 7 stories. But we've got them, I've got a laundry list of them. And now I'm working my own book that talks about leadership, critical aspects of leadership, and what I believe they are. And so look for that in about a year. As I force myself through the process of writing, which will be a historical fiction thing.
So you take donations, and if so, how can we contribute?
A number of ways to do that. The easiest way is ausa.org. That'll give you access into the North Texas chapter. And we got a drop-down page that you can contribute to any of those 3 things that we do: the Scholarship Foundation, the Leader Development Program, and the Wounded Warrior Support Team. I've got some cards here too. So. And if you want to join the Million Man and Woman thing called the Association of the U.S. Army, you can do that at ausa.org. And it ranges from free to about $20 a year to get some magazine material and printed material. And companies can join for about $175 a year. And the purpose of the Association of the U.S. Army, if your question is what's in it for me, I don't really need to talk to you. Because what's in it for you is the opportunity to serve those who serve. My target market is those young men and women who are going to be, or currently are, or were soldiers and their families. So we're in the business of providing them the honor and the support that they needed, that people gave to me when I was a young buck lieutenant, planning to be in the Army for 180 days. And 30 years later, I was out, and then I was back in it as a contractor. I was talking to Mark earlier, a book club that he and I belong to. Yesterday we were talking, well, they were talking about Taiwan and China. And I spent 4 years figuring out how we were going to fight China 15 years ago, but I was passionate about it. And I cleverly put that meeting yesterday on my calendar for this morning, so I showed up and talked about Taiwan with myself outside the locked door of the club. So
You missed it.
I missed it. So, anything else?
Over here.
What are some generational differences you've noticed in leadership?
Actually, there's not as many people think. I'm continuously accosted with fear over the younger generation. That they, and there are some differences. You know, you consume information differently than I do. But I find that the folks that are interested in this, and that small community, we are both interested in the same things. What can we do to serve? How can I be part of something bigger than me? And I actually see that notion growing in the follow-on generations. There's an interest in the part of the youth to figure out, okay, how do I contribute? And it's not about me. A lot of people think, well, they're all about them, and I don't think that's true. I mean, you see it. But I'm much more optimistic about what I see when I'm in high schools or in colleges, talking to young people about this notion of serving and being something bigger than yourselves. So I try to communicate like you guys, absorb that communication. So I'm not one of those 70 kind of guys who doesn't know how to use technology. So I try to use it. But that's the difference. It's how is information consumed and how's it distributed. So that helped, sir.
Have you had an opportunity to go see the new U.S. Army War Museum in Washington, D.C.?
Yes, I have. Fort Belvoir. Been there twice. And now I got my name on a brick outside of things. I've contributed to it. And I saw it for the first time last month. They finally got to lay my brick there. But the museum is very, very well done. And as a USA Leadership Fellow, we use that that building, that venue up there to talk leadership lessons across all of the generations. So
It's about time.
yeah, it is, and it's well done. It's very well done. So I'm a founding member too. There's a way to contribute to that too. So, anything else? Well, thanks for your time and attention.
By the way, I want to see Colonel Hogan again come to the Patriot Breakfast, which is the third Wednesday morning of every month, hosted by myself and Bob Epstein.
I'm there when I annotate my calendar correctly.
That's right. In December, we'll be talking about the Ukraine. So, oh, hey, John. Ah, there he is.
So ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for our guest speakers. Thank you. And, we'll be around just for a little bit to answer some questions and talk with folks, everybody. So if you have additional questions, you'd like to talk with them. And next item is one that many of you are anxious to see, because at the men's club, we actually invite candidates to come forward and to talk a little bit about why they are running, what they're running for, and if there's anything in particular that they feel is important for you to know as a voter, we encourage them to do that. So to my right, to your left, we'll line up right over here. So we would like to encourage all candidates and elected officials at any level to please come forward, because we're going to ask you to introduce yourself and to talk about why you're running. So go ahead. Right there in the middle.
3 weeks ago, I was in the sea flying down the Nile River.
All right, my name is Jason Lassiter. I am not the candidate, which is fortunate for you, but I am here on behalf of my wife, Kim Lassiter, who I think has met a lot of you at various events. Kim is running for the 401st District Court. She's a long-time prosecutor. She has over 14 years of experience trying the worst cases that you can imagine. Child abuse, child sexual abuse and murder, sexual assault, family violence, murder. For the last year and a half, she's a small business owner running her own criminal defense firm. She comes to you already endorsed by our Collin County District Attorney, Greg Willis. But really, more than that, she is a mother, she's a Christian, she's a conservative, but she is running for this bench not because she wants a title or she wants the prestige of being a judge, but because she wants to see the best person possible in that courtroom. And I got to tell you, honestly, I really do. I believe that she is the best person for this job. She is fantastic, and I am extraordinarily proud of her and everything that she's accomplished. But I know that if you give her your trust and your support, you will be very proud to have her in this courtroom. Love to, if I haven't met you yet, I'd love to meet you and tell you more about Kim. But again, thank you very much.
Good evening, guys. As always, I love being out here. Someone told me one day my name tag was hard to read from the back of the room, so I solved this problem. That's what I do. I solve problems. My name is Scott Gregg. I'm running to be your next Collin County tax collector. I have over 35 years of finance, audit, and accounting experience, which makes me by far the most qualified candidate running for this race. I also am the only candidate that has earned every single certification possible for a tax office employee in the state of Texas. In fact, I have more certifications than our 39-year incumbents. I worked hard for those endorsements and to earn those certifications. I'm proud of those. I'm a certified fraud examiner. One thing I want to make sure, and I say this a lot, I want to make sure everybody understands how much money flows through that office. $4 billion and growing every year flows through that office. We have to have somebody in charge of that knows how to deal with that kind of dollar figures. And I do for my corporate America days. A few small companies that you might recognize I worked for. I've been a senior auditor for Walmart, Tyson Foods, Coca-Cola, and Aaron's Lease-Owned Furniture. They are all the biggest and best in the world at what they do. And under my leadership, we can make our tax office the best in the state of Texas. I remember back when I was still auditing that office, they were out of balance by $107 million. I have no idea how it happened. They called me up, and within a day, I had it down to $2.32 and exactly what was missing. They had missed a journal entry on an overshort account in the motor vehicle department. And there's a lot of moving parts to the tax office. Motor vehicle accounts for 2/3 of what they do. About 1/3 of the other third is property tax. And about 1% of that is delinquent taxes because we have great taxpayers in Collin County that actually pay their taxes and their property taxes. So just remember, for the experience that Collin County really deserves and the leadership that they truly need, Scott Grigg in 2024 for tax collector.
You have worked in Collin County Tax Office also?
Yes, I have worked for the county.
How many years?
Since 2013. I've spent 10 years. I spent 6 years boots on the ground in the tax office. That's nothing. I'm the only candidate that has multiple years experience within our tax office. So, I'd love to answer any questions you might have. I'll stick around. Thank you, guys.
Good evening. My name is Joel Petrazio. For the last 28 years, I've practiced law here in Collin County. I remember when I started practicing, we had a few district courts and a few county courts. We have grown tremendously since I've been practicing in the court. We're in the 3rd courthouse now since I started practicing. I primarily do criminal defense on the state and the federal level, but I started off as a divorce attorney, so I've done hundreds of civil law cases also. The 401st is a general jurisdiction court. It handles civil cases, it handles divorce cases and custody cases, as well as criminal cases. I've lived in Plano for 10 years, and then I moved to Salina 17 years ago, and that's where I live now. I've got 2 kids in college and one that's a senior in high school in Salina. I have enjoyed practicing law in Collin County. I've done a lot of different things. I practice in a lot of different areas, from bankruptcy to immigration to personal injury. I've done wills and trusts and probate, just across the board. So when you're looking at a candidate to sit in a district court, I hope you look at the experience of those that are running. 28 years of practice in Collin County. I look forward to answering any questions that you may have about the role of a district judge. What I would be committed to, and what I know is important to the people that go to that courthouse every day, is to not have their time wasted. So I believe that it's important for a district judge to manage the docket effectively and to follow the law, which I know is very important to the Republican Party, to avoid the judicial activism. Follow the law. If you don't like the law, change the law. That's not the role of the judge. I look forward to any questions anybody has, but I appreciate your time.
Good evening. My name is Dwayne Kurtz. I'm a candidate for Constable's Office Precinct 2. That's going to be on the east side of the county. I have 38 years plus in law enforcement. I retired out of Dallas County after 30 years. I rose through the ranks from a deputy to chief deputy. Moved out here and went to work for Constable Gary Edwards, which is my treasurer and my supporter. He's not going to run. He's endorsed me to run. And not only that, I have the endorsement of the other 3 constables in Collin County. Like I said, I've been here for 8.5 years. Would like to continue being here. It's a great county, and I do not miss Dallas County, not one bit. Not total different, night and day. But I am running for this office. I appreciate your support. Anyway, thank you.
Hi, my name is Terry Black, and I'm here tonight representing Darren Mice, House District 67. If you're in District 67, we need your support. If you're not in District 67 and you'd like to see positive change in Austin, we would ask that on your social media you share information from Darren's sites on those pages. Thank you for allowing me to come tonight and represent Darren.
Good evening, guys. I'm Abraham George. I used to be the county chair. Most of you know me personally. I resigned a couple of weeks ago to run for Texas House 89. Today, on my way here, I saw it on Twitter, or now X, that New York mayor announced that, New York City announced that they're cutting $1 billion from their education fund this coming year because illegals are overwhelming their city. They're cutting their New York police force to 30,000 or less from 50,000. So they have more people there and cutting down on their police, law enforcement, and their education. That city is going to be awesome in 5 years. That's what's happening in New York. And I'll tell you this, our border need to be secured. Our Texas legislators need to get their stuff together and do their job. And that's one of the reasons I'm running. They put in $1.5 billion into the funds a couple days ago, actually today. Most of that money is not going to go to the border. The way they do it is just awful. We have to secure the border. Once an illegal is here in the United States, there is really not much you can do. So you got to stop them from entering the country. That's the best way to do this. So I'm running for things that matters to Texas, things that matters to us, because I'm planning to be here. I came here as a legal immigrant 27 years ago. The right way. It took me about 14 years to get here, but the right way. So I believe in this country. I believe in the American dream. I want my kids to grow up in a country where that American dream is alive and well. So that's what I'm running. I look forward to your support. If any of you don't live in 89, I know some of you don't, I would love to have your volunteer hours. 5 hours for the rest of the campaign. That's more than enough. If you could do that, I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abraham. I'm looking forward to working with Abraham in the House this next session. My name is Wayne Richard, and I'm running for HD 66. Some of you may remember me. I ran 13 years ago for this very seat. And here I am running again. And it's kind of interesting, I pulled out a push card from 13 years ago. And 3 of the 5 key interest points on my push card are still relevant today. One of them being the border. In our House reps, I don't need to preach to the choir. Our House reps are trying to take credit for what's happening on the border because they passed money. My opponent's been in office for 10 years. I am a term limit kind of guy. I'm old enough to where I can say 10 years is enough. It's enough. Nothing has happened in the 10 years that my opponent has been in office. I love this country. I love this state. I'm running for the House of Texas, not Congress, when it might open up for 24 hours and my opponent jumps, and then he goes back because that House seat is not open anymore. It takes guts to run against an incumbent. I get that. I ran against an incumbent 13 years ago, and I learned a lot. So I know how to run a campaign right now. Those of you who knew me back then know who I am. God had a hand in this plan. 13 years ago, I lost. But I ended up getting a radio show, a conservative radio show that broadcasts here in North Texas. GOP was a sponsor of my radio show. As a result of that radio show, I ended up becoming a spokesman for the Trump campaign. The first campaign, and the second one that he won, that they stole from us. So, at this point in my life, I'm retired. I don't need to be doing this, but I'm frightened about what's happening to our country, and I recognize if Texas goes, the country goes. So this is not just for me, it's for us, the grassroots people, it's for our children and our grandchildren. I have no choice, I have to run. Because I know if I go to Austin, I can make a difference. I will make a difference. I don't want to vote for paid by Dade anymore. If he's the speaker, we're done. The Democrats control the House, even though we have more R's registered as the majority. The Democrats own the House. If he's elected one more time as speaker, we're done. All the reps we have currently are going to vote for him again. I will not vote for him. Abraham will not vote for him. The people that are running right now, that have all been endorsed by Ken Paxton, we will not vote for Dade Phelan again. We have got to change leadership in Austin, or we're done. So I'm asking for your support. I'm asking for your financial support, block walking, whatever it takes for us to take out the incumbent. Because statistics show incumbents win 85% of the time. 85%. No wonder no one wants to run against an incumbent. It's like you're banging your head against the wall while you're doing it. But this time, it's different. This time, people are awake, not woke, awake for what's happening, especially here in Collin County. We get it. Got to vote. Grassroots people have got to go out and block walk, make donations to people like Abraham and myself to help us fight this fight. And if we do it properly, fully energized and motivated, we will win this next session and take out the rhinos and bring in true patriots like Abraham and myself. So I ask for your support, I ask for your vote, and I thank you for your time.
Well, we have one of our most esteemed judges in the House, and he's commonly referred to as the husband of Kellyanne.
I did not go up there because I'm not up for election right now. I wanted to give the floor to our candidates. But I do want to thank y'all. I feel like I was called to do what I'm doing, but I'm there because of the folks in this room and all the support you gave me. And I am proud to serve you as your judge of Collin County Court at Law Number 5. And when we get back up for the election, I hope to get your support again.
Well, I always enjoy these times because at many of the different clubs, different organizations, candidates only get 15 seconds or maybe 30 seconds. But here at the men's club, that's one of the things that we like to educate. We're an educational club. And you know that the men's club, we do not endorse candidates. Our charter calls for us to be an educational organization, and that's why you see, and that's what we do, why you see us bringing in all types of different speakers, and we encourage questions and answers at every meeting. We ask our speakers to stay after the meeting so you have an opportunity to talk with them one-on-one. And by the way, I did want to do one more little quick shout out. One of our precinct chairs is here this evening. I think it might be her first time to the men's club, but she's a very hard-working precinct chair, and I just want to recognize Terry Black for being here tonight. Woo! So folks, it is 8 o'clock, and you know what that means at 8 o'clock normally is when we have a special opportunity to give away something. And I want to make sure that everybody has a red ticket, because every single person, if you didn't get one, we have our membership chair. We'll be happy to hand those out to you. And if you didn't get a red ticket, please raise your hand, because we have a gift card.
One quick announcement while
Sure,
we're
Roger.
waiting.
You bet.
You guys may not know, our president is also first time representing himself as the chairman of the Collin County Republican Party.
So, once everybody has a red ticket, we're gonna ask Charles and his lovely wife, Bridget, to come forward, and they're going to be pulling out one of those numbers, and you will be receiving, just for attending tonight, and they pull your number, a gift card that's good. Either you can take it to Cheesecake Factory, to Red Robin Burgers, to Red Lobster, to Outback Steakhouse, Maggiano's, JB's Restaurant, or Buffalo Wild Wings. And Bridget, you gotta come up here. You know they all want to see you, Bridget. Come on up here. Charles, come on up.
Okay, 8905237.
237. Bobby Tillman. Bobby, there you go. Enjoy that. You can take your lovely bride out to dinner or lunch would be great. So very nice. So folks, I just want to make sure, what day next month is the men's club Christmas party? The 21st. That's the third Thursday. Where does that take place? Right here. Are you all coming?
Yes.
All right.
On the 16th.
It cannot be third Thursday. It cannot be third Thursday, 23rd.
The 21st.
21st would be, yes.
Yes, the 21st. It's on the 21st, December 21st, Thursday. What's on the 16th?
The GOP, the GOP.
The GOP. Good question. So remember, on Saturday, the GOP, the Collin County Republican Party, is having a grand party. It's not really quite as grand as the men's club. But maybe it will be. But it's going to be at the Haggard Party Barn on Saturday evening, the 16th. Yes. But on the 21st is the men's club party, right? And Linda, you're coming to both, aren't you? Absolutely. Good answer, good answer. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. We are adjourned. Have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you, sir.
Gentlemen, thank you for bringing me. Always think about every time. Okay, hey, can you go to those cards and you said search Amazon for I'm a CPA, I'm a controller, I do a lot of programs for upcoming finance and accounting people. And I use a book about brand cigars, whiskey, and many. And anyway, I think it's one of the most, it's one of the best books I found. It's easy for everybody to kind of comprehend it, and it's got in there the operations, tactical, and strategical. Oh yeah. Earl Hogan. Sorry, go ahead. Do you want to introduce?
What do you do?
Freddie America, electrical contractor.
What are you doing now?
What he do, I don't know.
And he never talked about it.
No, he never talked about it. That's the one thing about those guys. I think it was the hardest thing because I never met him. Lost a lot of family there. So it's one of the
You know, my father-in-law, and my father-in-law both in war cities. Father-in-law was in Patton's Third Army. And he was in Europe. My father was in the Pacific Theater. My son, I was hoping the AUSA